How do you expect to find happiness in the heart if you don't have a relationship with the one who created the heart? You'll never find inner peace.
Allah Azza wa Jal, He's saying the same thing as the Prophet ﷺ, that a person is at loss when it comes to the concept of time. And why is that? That is because we do not realize the importance of this time. But though it is of great importance at times, we sit together between each one another and we discuss how we can waste this time.
The most valuable thing you might have in your life that you really don't pay attention to, especially when you're young, because you just feel you have an abundance of it. It's never ending. Time. And as you get older, you realize time becomes your currency, because in the end, it's just waste your most valuable asset, time.
Do you believe that we've not created you except in vain? Without a reason? Without a purpose? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created indeed all of us for a purpose. And Allah talks about this purpose in the Quran. And we all hear it all the time. But do we apply it? The purpose of this life. Man 60 years old, fully grown. At that point a person should be ready for death at any moment. People in the past weren't like us. They didn't have iPads. Realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, He will ask you about your time. As Allah's Prophet ﷺ, he says in the hadith of Abi Barza al-Aslami, the feet of the slave of Allah Azza wa Jal will not move on the Day of Judgment until you're asked about four things. Your life, all of your life. Whether you be old, you be young. Every single person will be asked about their time and how they spent it. And you'll be asked about your knowledge. At that moment you'll be asked about even why you didn't learn your deen, if you start giving your excuses. And also from his wealth. From where did he gain this wealth? Where did you get that house? Did you get it through riba, usury, interest, calling and waging war against Allah Azza wa Jal? Did you do that? Where did you get that car? A loan that entails interest, displeasing Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger? Was it through that? What kind of work did you work in? Did you have to lie, cheat? All of these things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be asking about. Make tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jal if such is your case. Alongside with yourself, you'll be asked also about the children and the wives that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you responsibility for. What's the benefit of wealth that's increasing while the time is decreasing? If you're spending your whole life and everything you do working 4 jobs, trying to, not trying to make ends meet, but working 4 jobs so you can have the best of cars, the best of lives, make yourself a house that you're never going to use yourself anyways. And then you say to yourself that, oh, just wait until the day I build my house. Wait until my children grow a little bit older. Wait until I'm done buying this car. Wait and wait and wait. Procrastinating is one of the biggest problems that has occurred in the ummah. Because shaitan doesn't want you to do good. Shaitan is your enemy. The example of the individual who procrastinates, it's like while he's young, strong, he can do the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. He can wake up at night, pray, and still go for work. And it won't be difficult for him. His body can take it. The example of the individual who procrastinates is like the example of a very large tree, which we have been obliged and created to uproot. But we delay further and further and further as we grow older, knowing the fact that the older we grow, the more and more difficult it will become for us to uproot this tree. as we grow older, and weaker and weaker. You've grown old, you've lost all that time. You've grown weaker, it's become more and more difficult for you to uproot that tree of ma'asiyah. And with this I'll leave you off, that life is extremely short. And you should be fearful of Allah Azza wa Jal, that you live an entire life of 60 years and you've left behind wealth for yourself, for your children, and you haven't left behind anything for your akhirah, the real abode. The Prophet ﷺ, he walked into Aisha's house one day and he said, what happened to that sheep that we slaughtered? Aisha said, nothing is left of it except the shoulder, O Prophet of Allah ﷺ. He said, every single thing is left of it except that shoulder, because everything was spent in the way of Allah except that shoulder. The adhan that every single one of us had done in our ears when we were children, and the fact that the day he dies is when they pray upon him, is an evidence showing you that the entire life goes by in a flash, just as the time between adhan and salah every single day goes. Time, when it goes, it doesn't turn back. And Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, He shows great value to the concept of time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ, by time. Then He says, verily, mankind is in a loss. They are in a loss when it comes to the time and how they use it.